Hello and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we go through weekly tips and tricks to make your career just a little bit more awesome. Now, this week we are talking about goals for 2018 because somehow we are at the halfway point of the year and I'm not quite sure how it's July yet, but here we are. And because we're in July and we're exactly halfway through the year, it's a really great time to take stock of the things that you said you wanted to do and the things that you've actually done so far. So whether you are a resolution setter or someone who just has goals in the back of your mind, I want you to take a second to think about how those goals have been going. So this is a great opportunity for you to sit. You can always do kind of a journaling out or writing out on paper what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, what I want to keep doing, what I want to do differently in the future. Those are some great questions that you can start with. So that's just a little thing for you to take and work on your own. But on top of that, as you start reviewing your year and you're thinking about how those goals are going, I want you to look at, hopefully they're making great progress, but for the probably healthy handful who feels like they're not necessarily where they hope that they would be by this time this year, that's okay. Don't panic. You are certainly not alone. This happens all the time. And the important thing with goals is sometimes they can feel really overwhelming when they're super big, which is typically why I stray away more from resolutions and focus on kind of big picture vision for the year. But all that said, if you do have some goals that you're looking to move towards, don't panic. Let's figure out how to break them down. That is my tip for you this week, because it's, this kind of work is kind of like the idea of going to the gym, right? The days that you kind of don't want to do it and you force yourself to, you always feel better afterwards. Well, the best thing to do is treat it as if you're training for something really big. And of course, if you set a huge ambitious goal for yourself, it's just like if you set this goal that seems completely unattainable at the gym, right? I want to go from someone who is completely sedentary to running a marathon. Great, but that can feel really daunting unless you break it down into smaller steps. That's why everyone who's ever trained for a marathon typically does it in small increments. You don't go straight to running 8 miles. As your kind of first day's work, you start at 1 mile and 2 miles, right? And you make it a much more gradual process. If you feel like you haven't been necessarily nailing your goals this year, it's totally okay. But what I want you to do is treat it with that same mindset. I want you to write out what that goal is, adjust it for the remainder of the year if there's anything that needs to be changed or doesn't necessarily match up with where you're at right now. And then once you have that new goal that looks really big and really intimidating, I want you to just figure out the first step, right? And I want you to figure out how to break this goal into smaller steps. So if it is launching your own business, maybe it is getting your website up and running or getting your registration with the state that you live in, right? So think about how to take something that seems really big and intimidating and break it down into one small step so that you can start. Because once you have a single step, it's a lot less scary to actually do these things. So, because we are at the halfway mark of the year, share with me how your goals are going. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. I'd love to hear how it's going for each of you. But keep me posted, and if you need any sort of help with going through these or getting that extra motivation, that's what I'm here for. Feel free to reach out. But in the meantime, happy working!